Some say ghosts are just figments of our imagination, but what if they're not? What if, just beyond the veil of our reality, something else exists? Something hungry for contact, desperate to make itself known. Tonight, we dive into 5 terrifying true ghost stories that will make you question what's lurking in the dark and whether you're really alone. Are you brave enough? Let's begin. Mirrors. They're a part of our everyday lives, reflecting back our image. But what if they also reflect something more sinister, something from the other side? This story takes us to a college campus where a student's late-night reflection revealed a terrifying truth. Imagine this. It's late. You're exhausted after a long day of classes. You step out of a steaming hot shower, wiping away the condensation on the mirror, eager to crash. But as you look at your reflection, you see her. Standing just behind you, a woman in a black dress, her face pale, her eyes hollow. Your heart pounds in your chest. You whirl around, but there's nothing there. Had you imagined it? You glance back at the mirror, and your blood runs cold. The woman is still there, closer now, and a twisted grin stretches across her face. From that night on, the student's life became a waking nightmare. Objects moved on their own, as if controlled by unseen hands. And every morning he'd find the cloth he used to cover the mirror lying on the floor, the woman's chilling reflection staring back at him. Dolls. They're meant to be symbols of innocence, cherished companions for children. But some dolls harbor a dark secret, a presence that's anything but innocent. This is the story of Sophie and the Whispering Doll. 8-year-old Sophie loved her new doll. It was a gift, a beautiful porcelain doll with rosy cheeks and a haunting smile. But at night, something strange began to happen. Sophie's parents would hear whispers coming from her room, soft, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to emanate from the doll itself. When questioned, Sophie would simply say, "The doll tells me secrets." Her parents, though concerned, dismissed it as childish imagination. But deep down, a seed of unease had been planted. One night, Sophie's mother woke to the sound of giggling coming from her daughter's room. She crept closer, listening intently. Sophie was fast asleep, her chest rising and falling rhythmically. The giggling came again, this time louder, and it wasn't coming from Sophie. It was coming from the doll. Moving into a new home is supposed to be an exciting time, a fresh start. But for Daniel, his new home became a prison of fear, haunted by a shadowy figure that lurked at the end of the hall. It started subtly, as these things often do. Footsteps in the dead of night, the creaking of floorboards when he knew he was alone. Daniel dismissed it at first, attributing the strange occurrences to the settling of an old house. But as the days turned into nights, the occurrences grew more frequent, more unnerving. Each night, the footsteps would draw closer, stopping just outside his bedroom door. He could feel a presence, cold and menacing, watching him from the shadows. Fear gnawed at his sanity, turning his once welcoming home into a place of dread. Then came the night that changed everything. He sensed a presence in the room, a feeling of overwhelming dread. He forced himself to look towards the end of the hall, and there it was. They say that death is the ultimate separation, that the veil between the living and the dead is impenetrable. But what if that's not always the case? What if sometimes the dead find a way to reach out, to make their presence known in the most unexpected ways? This is the story of Lisa and the chilling phone call that shattered her world. Lisa had just lost her mother after a long and difficult battle with illness. The pain of her loss was still raw, a gaping wound in her heart. She missed her mother terribly, Her gentle touch, her warm smile, the sound of her voice. Little did Lisa know that she was about to hear that voice again, but not in the way she could have ever imagined. A few weeks after the funeral, Lisa received a phone call that sent shivers down her spine. The caller ID displayed a number she knew by heart, a number that had been disconnected, a number that belonged to her deceased mother. Her hand trembled as she reached for the phone, her mind racing with a mixture of anticipation and dread. A part of her, the part still clinging to the hope that her mother was somehow still alive, urged her to answer. Another part, the part that understood the finality of death, screamed at her to ignore the call. Curiosity, mixed with a longing to hear her mother's voice one last time, won out. She took a deep breath and answered the phone. "Hello?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The line crackled with static, and then she heard it, a faint whisper, distant and distorted, yet unmistakably her mother's voice. "Lisa, it's me." Terror gripped Lisa's heart, squeezing the air from her lungs. She wanted to hang up, to run, to escape the chilling voice that echoed through the receiver. Closets, those dark and often cramped spaces where we store our belongings, can also become breeding grounds for our deepest fears. For Emily, her new apartment's closet became a portal to terror, a place where a malevolent entity lurked in the shadows. It began with small, seemingly insignificant occurrences. Emily, a creature of habit, always kept her closet door closed. But every morning she'd wake to find it slightly ajar, as if someone or something had been trying to get out. At first, she dismissed it as her imagination or perhaps a draft. But as the days turned into weeks, the occurrences became more frequent, more unsettling. One night, as she lay in bed, trying to ignore the creeping feeling of unease that had settled over her, she heard it. A slow, deliberate creak coming from the closet. Her heart pounded in her chest as she watched in horror as the closet door slowly swung open, revealing the darkness that lay within. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. Two glowing red eyes, burning like embers in the pitch-black depths of the closet, stared back at her. They seemed to pierce through her, seeing into her very soul. Ghost stories like these remind us that the dead may not be as far away as we think. They lurk in the shadows, whispering in the darkness, reaching out from beyond the veil. Whether you believe or not, just remember, some things are better left undisturbed. Sleep well if you can.